Nigeria, no doubt, is the biggest democracy in Africa, and so far so good. 1999 to date, inching towards full-blown 18 years of uninterrupted democracy has gone a long way. And so many African countries are trying to learn the model. What did Nigeria really do? And truly, we hope and believe we'll still be counting 50 years, 80 years of democracy, and all the disconnects and connections will all be amended and will be seen someday as a perfect democracy in the world. Well, we'll be looking at political issues, public governance, procurement on this segment of the program. My guest is a politician. I hear he has a governorship ambition to run for governorship in Kogi State under the party platform. I don't know. That's not the platform to say so. He is the founder, Africa Youth Growth Foundation, a development consultant, and economist. Dr. Arome Salifu, thanks for joining me on Insights.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay. I started with democracy. What will you say is the picture 1999 to date in Nigeria?
Well, truly we have made a lot of progress as a country, significant progress in several ramifications. We have made a lot of unquantifiable leap in terms of our governance system, in terms of our institutional strengthening, in terms of our policies and programs, in terms of rule of law, in terms of accountability, in terms of human rights, and of course, in terms of living conditions of the people. The truth is, the best or the worst of civilian government or of democratic government is still better than the best of military government. The worst of democratic government is still far better than the best of military government, because there are certain things you can never quantify in terms of their value and priority as far as human existence is concerned. For example, freedom of association. You can talk to whoever you want to talk to. You can associate with whoever you want to associate with. Freedom of speech. You can speak the way and manner you want, as far as it's not in any way, entering the boundary of another person's right. You understand? You can as well, express your political ambition, aspire to hold political office. All of these are not possible under military system. And so, democratic system of government has been alluded to be the best form of government all over the world. And so Nigeria, as a country, has made a lot of progress, significant progress at that, since our inception or reintroduction of democracy as a country. Truly, democratic system of government is expensive to manage. It is something that comes with a lot of baggages, like talking about high-level political manipulations by politicians, thuggery, and all of that. So,
if you want to discuss democracy,
yes,
we'll go on and on and
yes.
on. Now, within a democratic setting, certain platforms, if they are not put right, then say democracy is a democracy. And talking about checks and balances, talking about separation of powers. Looking from this perspective, how will you see the executive, legislature, and judiciary relationship within the analysis you have given? Is it doing well? Have we also progressed in this perspective?
Well, democracy, from its theoretical definition, are supposed to be government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But there are institutions that are supposed to function effectively to guarantee smooth operationalization of those democratic principles and values. The separation of power component of it is a well thought out idea. But as to how far they have been able to smoothly, successfully implement that in Nigeria in the last 18 years is another conversation altogether. However, if we are to conduct introspection, in retrospection of what it is we have been able to do very well in terms of interaction among the three arms of government, I would say that they have been able to manage their relationship fairly well because, of course, the judicial arm is meant to interpret the law. The legislature is meant to make the law, and the executive is meant to implement the law. Now, if you look at it since 1999, there have been some sort of smooth, interaction and implementation, operationalization of their constitutional obligations and responsibilities. However, there have been some overlaps as well. There have been some overlaps. There have been some overreaching of each other's obligations in certain cases where you could see that executives, in some cases, want to detect what happens in National Assembly, choose their leaders for them, and to manipulate what happens within, the National Assembly or the legislature, the legislative arm of the government. And so you could see that there is that level of overreach from one side or one arm of the government against another. You could see that there are some cases where the National Assembly would be discussing an item and somebody would take the same item to court. And then the judiciary will make a pronouncement and then they'll tell you that, it's already prejudice, that, you cannot mention any item that is already in court, in the chamber, in National Assembly, or on the floor of the National Assembly. So we have certain cases where each arm of government would want to outdo or overreach itself, just for some peculiar personal or collective
I enjoy your analysis.
Yeah,
but
so
before we exhaust all this, I want us to touch virtually every issue.
No problem.
As busy as you could be. Being somebody who is not in a governorship ambition, I know a lot of steps have been taken, but let's just touch on it a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, when the Chief Justice of Nigeria was sworn in and he assumed office, he sustained the position anti-corruption, and he set up a committee within the judiciary arm of government for that. A lot is happening in the executive, as you have said, a lot also in the legislature. But a mild drama, which you call the beauty, one of the beauties of democracy, and played that out the other day at the National Assembly, the Senate precisely, where the mace was missing. The mace has been found and returned. As a politician not seeing the ambition of being the chief executive officer of a state, what comments do you make of that? The taking off of the mace, the return of the mace, and so forth is playing out. It's politics now.
Yeah, truly, for us, we are setting bad precedents and bad examples for the younger ones because the National Assembly is one institution that is well respected, and the expectations and the trust the people have for that institution is so high, non-negotiable, that must not be soiled under any guise. The members and the personalities elected into these two chambers, that is House of Reps and the Senate, are expected to be honorable members and are equally supposed to be honorable in their dealings and ways and manner they handle their affairs. The same way the senators are supposed to be distinguished. When you are described to be distinguished, that is, you are exceptional in several considerations, in your conduct, in your thinking, in your courage, and in your mannerism, relationship, thinking. So we expected so much from the personalities that are within the National Assembly. If you looked critically at what happened in the National Assembly, you would know that indeed it was more or less like a managed drama by key, actors within the National Assembly. For example, it has been alleged that the senator was involved, and it has equally been alleged that the security operatives within the National Assembly might be culpable in the entire drama. Because if you look at how fortified and how structured the security system of the National Assembly is, you would appreciate how impossible, almost impossible, for those guys to have free ride from the first gates all the way to the hollow chamber of the Senate. And then not only that, they're able to come out and went all the way out of the National Assembly without any successful arrest. And then how did they manage to trace them to a particular point? And then they only found the maze and the object, but apparently they could not arrest the culprits, the perpetrators. And then today the issue now is it has been returned, but the culprits are not anywhere to be found.
Let's hope that something is being done about it.
Yes, so we hope something should be done about it, that we shouldn't have a repeat of that kind of incidents, because apparently we would be setting bad precedents. That is a place students come to on excursion to learn democratic processes, how institutions conduct the businesses of democracy, and then what are you going to tell them? Even this is not the first time. There are some cases they even fight, within the chamber.
And that's why I use the word beauty of democracy.
It's not, no.
And it's not peculiar to Nigeria.
No, it's not, no. That is not the beautiful part of democracy.
Moving forward,
it's an ugly part of it.
Moving forward, I see you fall within the youthful flank of Nigeria.
Thank you.
And I'm talking about youth now. One statement attributed to Mr. President has made so much rounds. The managers have really tried their best to explain to Nigeria. Let me feel your pulse. Okay. Should Nigerians really feel bad, or is one of those things that you find in governance?
I would appreciate the fact that Mr. President is a father, is a grandfather, is a role model to many young people, is a mentor to many young people. He has served this country in several capacities. He has been minister, he has been former head of state, and today, God, giving him good health, is again the president of this country. He has seen it all, and he's in a good position to inspire. He's in a good position to moderate. He's in a good position to advise. He's in a good position to supervise. He's in a good position to teach. He's in a good position to mentor the young people of this country. He has that obligation, and he has that responsibility, and he has that opportunity. There are ways and manner you speak to younger ones, and they'll take you, seriously, and they'll appreciate, the way you have been able to handle their challenges, and you're able to build their courage and their confidence. Now, when you see your president speak about you, not at home, but on an international platform. Now, what we expected from Mr. President was to be crafty, was to be careful, was to be a little bit diplomatic about the description of the youth demography of Nigeria. Even if what you wanted to say was to describe some young people that are actually lazy, which of course is not totally out of place. You could first and foremost emphasize the fact that we have a lot of young people who are very hardworking, who are exemplary, who are dutiful, who are very determined to succeed in their private capacities, in their official capacities, who are ready to make the country proud. Let me tell you something. I've traveled around the world, and each of these countries I've visited, the set of people that make this country proud internationally are the young people. In the area of entertainment, the Nollywood industry in this country is the greatest export this country has to offer the world. The music and entertainment industry is another huge export that has made Nigeria what it is today in terms of global reputation.
Could it be the statement to them to work harder?
No, but you have to first, inspire and applaud the good part before you equally speak to the shortcomings. That is what the father should do, and that is what we expected of him. However, I want to believe that he's going to take the responses, the feedback seriously, to ensure that speaking next time, he would take into cognizance the fact that you must appreciate those ones who are doing so well, who are hardworking, who are not armed robbers, who are not lazing around, who are not kidnappers, who are not into Boko Haram extremism, who are not into any form of antisocial vices. We have a lot of young people in this country who are truly sincere and determined to make this country proud, not just to be useful to themselves, to their immediate families, but to the entire society.
Okay.
We must recognize those people, we must applaud them, and we must give them that recognition at most appropriate places like that international platform. To be honest with you, Mr. President is supposed to serve as the chief marketer of Nigeria, as the brand manager of Nigeria. He must be seen to be doing that, and he must be consistent in doing that as well.
Okay, now moving forward, you're an economist.
Yeah.
Given the what played out last year, recession, government took certain steps to reflate the economy, and eventually the experts like you said the country has technically come out of recession. A lot of steps have also been taken from the agricultural sector, SMEs, all that. If sustained, where do you think Nigeria will be in the next 1 or 2 years?
Well, I think we must be thankful to God that indeed we're able to come out of recession as a country. But as an economist, and even for ordinary persons on the street, the reason for the recession is not far-fetched. It was because of the fact that, one, when as a country we are dependent, our economic source of livelihood, our source of income is almost unduly tilted towards oil revenue. That is our main source of revenue, and that has been the main source of our budgetary, allocation, distribution, and all of that. And so whatever happens to the oil sector at the international market, it rubs directly on our local economy, on our ability to sustain and operate our budgetary provisions year in, year out. It affects our foreign reserve, it affects our fiscal and monetary policies. And so what happened in the last couple of years that made us to enter recession was because of drastic drop in the price of crude oil in the international market. And we could see that if that was to be sustained over years, Nigeria would have been in a total mess. But luckily for us,
where will it be in the next 1 or 2 years?
Yes.
We don't have the time.
Yes, it has been projected that Nigeria will grow around, already we are expected to grow around 1 to 2% in our GDP in the next 1 to 2 years. Now, that is remarkable. But again, the template that the government is operating with right now, which is the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the federal government, yes, beautiful. I've read the document and is it speaks to a lot of the issues, but we have a lot of areas that we need to cover in that document.
Okay.
Already, Bill Gates alluded to some of my initial position, and that is the fact that the human capital development component of it.
Dr. Arome Salifu, founder Africa Youth Growth Foundation, development consultant and economist, and by the grace of God, a governorship aspirant for Kogi State, right?
Yes.
It was nice talking with you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Up next on Inside is the media review segment.